Why is it so hard to stay consistent even when you already know what helps? That question matters because a lot of people are not confused anymore. They know walking helps. They know sleep matters. They know a better rhythm would help. They know the small habits that support them. And yet they struggle to keep going. That can feel frustrating. Because once you know what helps, you expect consistency to become easy. But it often does not. And when that happens, people usually blame themselves. They think, I must be lazy. I must be weak. I must just not want it enough. But that's not usually the real reason. Because consistency is not just about knowledge. It's about fit. Fit with your energy. Fit with your pressure. Fit with your life. Fit with the way your days actually work. That is why this matters. Because when you understand why consistency is hard, you start attacking yourself and start building something more realistic. A lot of people have been taught to think consistency is a character issue, as if the people who stay consistent are just better people, more disciplined, more serious, and more motivated. But real life is more complicated than that. Consistency is often harder when you're tired, you're overloaded, you're caring for others. You are stretched thin. You're trying to use a system that does not fit your life. You keep asking too much from yourself at once. That's not a moral failure. That is a design problem. And once you see that, consistency starts looking less like a personality trait and more like something you can actually build. One of the biggest things I've learned is that people often know what helps long before they know how to make it live inside their real week. That's the gap. Not always knowledge, implementation. You can know a walk helps and still struggle to take one. You can know sleep matters and still end up staying up too late. You can know a calmer rhythm would help and still feel trapped inside a day that keeps sweeping you along. That is why healing habits matters so much. Because it's not just trying to tell people what is healthy, it is trying to help them make support more usable in real life. The first thing to understand is that knowing is not the same as being able to do. That sounds obvious, but people forget it all the time. Knowledge matters. But knowledge alone does not remove friction. It does not create time. It does not create energy. It does not simplify the day. It does not automatically turn a good idea into a lived pattern. That is why consistency can still feel hard even after the insight is clear. Because insight is only one part of the process. And once you understand that, the shame starts to loosen. The second thing to understand is that consistency usually breaks where friction is highest. That is the real battleground. A habit might make perfect sense, but if it meets fatigue, time pressure, poor timing, too many steps, an unrealistic setup, a chaotic environment, then it becomes much harder to repeat. That doesn't mean the habit is wrong. It means something about the way it is trying to live inside you. Your life needs adjusting. That is a powerful shift, because how the question changes from what's wrong with me to where is the friction? And that question is far more useful. The third thing to understand is that people are often trying to be consistent with too much at once. Too many habits, too many changes, too many standards, too many expectations. That overwhelms the system. And when the system gets overwhelmed, consistency usually collapses. This is one of the reasons small healing habits matter so much. They reduce the load. They give you something you can actually hold, something you can repeat without having to become a different person overnight. That is not a compromise. That is intelligent design. The fourth thing to understand is that consistency grows through success, not just effort. A lot of people think they need to force consistency first, but often consistency grows when something becomes small enough, clear enough, kind enough, workable enough, that you can actually do it again, and then again, and then again. That repeated success starts building trust, and trust makes the next repetition easier. That is how consistency often really grows, not through pressure alone, through a better relationship between you and the habit. The final thing to understand is that consistency is not perfection. It is return, coming back, beginning again without drama, picking up again when life disrupted it, not turning one missed day into a broken identity. That matters so much. Because a lot of people think that inconsistency means failure, but often it just means life happened. And the real skill is not never being disrupted. It is learning how to return without shame. That is one of the deepest healing habits of all. So if you've been struggling to stay consistent, do not assume the answer is more self-judgment. Ask better questions. What helps? What creates friction? What is too much right now? What would make this easier to repeat? What would help me return more gently? Those questions can change a lot, because consistency is not only about trying harder, it is about building habits that your real life can actually hold. And once you start seeing that, another question starts to matter too. Because if consistency grows through fit, then what kind of daily rhythm actually helps build that fit in the first place? That is where the next layer opens up. So watch the next video where I break down how daily rhythm affects healing more than most people realize, and why the way your day flows may be shaping your habits far more than you think. Thank you for listening.